Let's catch up with David Gillespie. He's the Regional Health Minister. He's also the member for the seat of Lyne, which is on the mid-north coast of New South Wales. That's where most of that heavy rain has been dumped today, around Taree and Port Macquarie. Thanks for joining me in Sydney, David. First up, what are the reports you're getting from your electorate? Not as flood-prone there, I understand, but, gee, you've been battered with a heap of rain.
Yes, we have. Look, there is minor flooding across both the Hastings catchment and the Manning, but nothing like the Armageddon floods we had a year ago in March, where 15,000 people were displaced from their homes. A lot of anxious people, but all the major flooding this time has been in the north, around Lismore and southeast Queensland, and that place in between. But look, there's still a lot of anxious people because, as you know, there's east coast lows. They did a curveball around our area and went down off Sydney, but there's still the potential. Everything is so waterlogged, it could flare up, and let's hope it doesn't.
Yeah, there's no doubt it could get worse in some areas. There's more rain around Brisbane today, and we'll get an update on the weather later in the program. But I want to talk to you about the recovery, especially when it comes to regional health services. You talk about Lismore. So many people now displaced from their homes. Some of them obviously have health problems to start with. Some of them are very elderly. How do we make sure they get the care they need, not just tomorrow, but in the weeks and months ahead? And also, we've heard from people who have been through the flooding in the past that it leaves them with all sorts of emotional and mental health problems. So I imagine you need to be planning for a lot of work in these areas for a long while to come.
Yes, Chris, you're exactly right. I did have a very extensive briefing from the Health Department about the mechanisms that we've activated. We've learned from these past disasters last year and the bushfires. For prescriptions, there is extended dispensing provisions still in place, but in the Wilson River around Lismore, part of the problem, and in southeast Queensland, is about a quarter to a half of the general practices and the pharmacies are in CBD areas that have been flooded. So where there is an operating pharmacy, people can just turn up with evidence of their current prescription drugs that they require, and they can be dispensed 1 month, or they can get it as a script going through conversations with their GP and the pharmacist. Look, the mental health issue is a very acute problem, and then there's a very long, slow burn after it. These are really traumatic. You know, people's lives, their savings, their house, you know, a man's house is his kingdom, a woman's house is it's their point of the centre of their life. And when you're displaced from it, it's really distressing. A lot of issues came up, which will come up with this. Yeah.
Indeed, tough times ahead. Thanks for joining us, David.
OK, thanks, Chris.
David. Dr David Gillespie there, who's the Minister for Regional Health. 2 points. You're going to hear a lot tonight about how Sydney's flooding wasn't as bad as expected, but just remember how bad it is for those people who have been affected. And also, as places like Lismore and southeast Queensland recover, there's a hell of a clean-up to go through. They're still actually searching homes where they fear they might find more victims. So this tragedy is far from over. We've got to keep our eye on it and hope that next week it doesn't get any worse with this new weather pattern.